Hi to all. Welcome to this presentation. We will see some hints about how to enhance your search server with Alfresco. Just two words about Fran.
Yeah.
Okay. They are different order. So, my name is Piergiorgio Lucidi. I work at Sourcesense as an open source ECM specialist. I work also for Alfresco for the official courses. So I'm a certified instructor and an engineer. I also contributed a lot in the wiki as one of the 6 people that try to make order in the wiki of Alfresco. I'm the global moderator of Italian Forum. I work for Packet. I wrote 2 books, one about Alfresco, one about gating portal. I'm also a contributor of the Apache Software Foundation, and I contributed a lot in the JBoss portal project. So, Fran, can you introduce you?
Sure. Hi, everyone. Thank you for coming. So, yeah, I'm Fran Alvarez. I work in Zaizi. I run the office that we have in Spain, in Seville. I am also an Alfresco certified engineer. I am responsible of very large Alfresco architecture. Also, I am a semantic consultant of our semantic solution, Sensify. Whenever we organize meetup in the south of Spain, I am the man behind it. So I'm going to pass the ball to Piergiorgio. He's going to explain you the Apache product that we are using and that he created.
Thank you. So, let's see the overview of this presentation. So we will see some basic concepts about how Alfresco manage indexes. And then we will introduce the Apache Manifold CF, that is the project that we introduce in this presentation. And then we will see the Zaizi solution. The Zaizi has integrated the Apache Manifold CF in their solution. So, let's see an overview about the scenario. So, Alfresco has some limitations about indexes. The standard and the out-of-the-box Alfresco distribution was based on Apache Lucene, and we know all the limitations about the scalability of Apache Lucene indexes embedded with Alfresco. Now Alfresco provides an Apache Solar connector, so there is a supported configuration for Solars. But anyway, if the customer has other repositories, so typically you need to implement other connectors, or you need by yourself to implement your connectors for other repositories if there are other repositories involved in this architecture. So, this is the scenario. So we have an Alfresco instance. We have some applications in the front end. So, and typically this is a simple search architecture. So we have some external applications that have some users that will invoke some queries on Alfresco. So Alfresco has the indexes provider, in this case Lucene, and this is the simple scenario. This is the cluster scenario of Alfresco. So we have the provided Lucene for indexes, so Apache Lucene for the indexes. So in this case, what is the problem? The problem is that each instance of the cluster needs to have indexes, its own indexes. So the problem is in the maintenance of this infrastructure, and we have replicated indexes in this scenario. So it's not easy to maintain, and whenever you add a new node, so you have to remember to manage this new store of indexes. So for an administration point of view, it's not easy to maintain. The simple architecture here is that we have a middle application. In this case, we have the search engine that will host and manage indexes for Alfresco, so Alfresco don't need to be involved in the indexes operations. So in this way, each upload request, each manipulation request for contents will be will involve the search engine that is the component that will manage indexes for our front-end applications. So we have many applications that needs to be synchronized with these indexes. Another point of view for the use of a search engine, because this is the goal. So we want to use a search engine, and we don't want Alfresco be involved for indexing, for the indexing activity. Another approach, so we want an advanced management of search indexes, and for advanced management I mean also advanced ways for execute queries. So we have a strong and powerful query language, typically using a search engine external to Alfresco. We can scaling out in a lightweight way, and another point of view could be based on the fact that we can use a search engine as a front-end application to publish our content. So as a NoSQL component in our architecture. This is an hybrid architecture, so we can have an Alfresco configured with Solar or Lucidi, and we can have a search engine to publish contents on our search server to improve the performance and to divide our backend from the front-end architecture. And many WCM solutions, modern WCM solutions now, has a similar architecture. So that the problem is to scale out the Alfresco solution, but also the front-end application. So the problem is how we can manage this synchronization of the indexes. So typically I have to implement some connector to synchronize our Alfresco with the external search engine. Now we want to focus on this section of this scenario to understand how we can manage the synchronization between Alfresco and any search server. So the complex architecture is based on the fact that we don't want to implement. So we don't want to increment our effort for the project. So we would like to have an user interface to configure with a tool to configure our jobs to synchronize our indexes. And probably we don't have Alfresco as the unique repository in the infrastructure. Probably we have many repositories. So this is the complex architecture. So if we are looking at this scenario, so we have many repositories and we have one or more search engine, and we don't want to implement the synchronization task. So the Apache Manifold project will cover exactly that task for us. So we have Apache Manifold that is a crawler that allows us to crawl all the content repositories to synchronize and get content and synchronize and create indexes for any search engine. This is the goal of Apache Manifold. Apache Manifold is an open source project of Apache Software Foundation. Now is a top level project from the last year. The initial part of the code, the initial code was granted by Carta. Carta is a product vendor. Their product is a search engine. And it's based on more than 5 years of development. So the first chunk of the code was based on an effort of 5 years of development by Carta. What is Manifold? It's a crawler, and there is a crawling model, so we can extend Manifold, but also the actual connector will manage indexes using different way to identify the operation that it was performed in the repository. So we can use the add, means there is a new content in the repository, the change, so some contents has changed, and then we have the delete, because whenever you remove a content from the repository, you want that the search engine will have the new indexes updated without that content in the index. The other important point is that we have an open source crawler that allows us to configure our jobs to synchronize indexes. So this means that we have a user interface to configure the repository connection. This connection means that we configure, for example, an Alfresco repository and the tree, the payload that we want to identify to get the content. And then we can configure where to push these contents. I mean, get the content from repository and then push indexes, push this content against a search engine to create indexes. The open source crawler allows us to use some repository connections to manage the indexing process against the search server, any search server. We have in Apache Manifold a REST API, an authority service, because one of these the authority service is a component that allows us not only to index the content itself, but for example, we can index the ACL, all the access control list, to perform the quick queries against the search server. And can be embedded in any Java application. So if you don't like the user interface inside the Apache Manifold, you can embed the framework, and you can re-implement a new user interface for Manifold. So we have some point about the Manifold. So reliability. So we can talk about the multi-repositories. So we can start with the reliability. So all the operations performed by Apache Manifold are stored in its own database. So we have the daemon that has its own database. Incremental, because we can set some jobs to be performed every day or every hour, and we can configure Manifold to recrawl the same content or the same spaces inside Alfresco to get the new contents added in the space, for example. Another good point is flexible because Manifold manages also the versioning for content. So you can crawl the repositories and all the version history for the content. In this way, you can build your indexes and you can perform queries about all the versions for your contents. Multi-repository, so Apache Manifold is multi-repository. These are all the repositories supported now, so from Google Drive, Alfresco, CMIS, but there is also SharePoint, OpenText. So there is a matrix in the website of Manifold that will show you all the specific version of the repository that is supported. For the search server side, now is supported Solar, Elasticsearch, OpenSearch, and Metacarta. But the Manifold CF project itself is built as a framework, so you can extend it. And there is the documentation that explains how you can build your own output connector, so the connector that will push content inside a search server, or your repository connector, the connector that is responsible for getting contents from repositories. This is the security model of Manifold. So Manifold will get contents from repositories and then will check the ACL for each content and using the authority connection. In this way, for each content, we can create indexes for the ACL for the content. So not only the content itself, but also the permission associated with the content. The user access tokens are stored in a search server as indexes, and then you can build systems, platforms, applications that will invoke specific user queries. So you have results profiled for each user permission. The application, so Manifold, will allows you to see how the jobs are working, and you have different reports. So you have the status reports for the reports that are actually running on Manifold, and then the history reports. So in this way, you can see all the contents that Manifold crawled in the past, or all the contents that actually is crawling or needs to be crawled. In this way, you will see in the report a Boolean value for identify all the contents that needs to be crawled. This is the architecture for the component of Manifold. So we have the repository connector, we have the job. The job will involve all the connectors. So the repository, the output connector for the search server, and the authority connector for ACLs. The job allows you to configure what are the repository involved for, what repository involved for this job, what search server involved, and which permissions must be indexed. We have the repository connector, the output connector for the search server, and the authority connector for the ACLs. The repository connector will get content from the repository. The output connector will push content in the search server. In the literature, will perform the ingestion of the content. And then the authority connector will check the user access tokens to allows you to perform profiled queries. For each for each index segment, we have an AC, an access control entry. In the job, we have also the crawling model. We can set the crawling model, the scheduling. So, for example, for each, we can run the job each week or for every hour or every month. So we can decide the scheduling. And then we have a description for us to understand what are the responsible job for the project. Now we have some users of Manifold from many years, and it works. Simply, it works. So during these years, the framework is expanding in features, on a point of view for the features and for capabilities. Some resources, so you can download the project, it's open source. You can download the source, you can contribute if you want. So, and you can access also to, if you want to have a comprehensive knowledge of the framework, Cartwright, that is the principal committer of Manifold, has written the Manifold CF in action. That is available from the Manning website. So this is a very comprehensive book about the architecture and with some hints about how to implement or extend the Manifold CF application. So Manifold, you just only need to download it. You can download it. You can just use it. So there is a user interface. You can start configuring your jobs. So Fran will show us this configuration, so you can download it and use it. Okay, so I pass the microphone to Fran.
I have one here. Can you hear me?
Okay.
Can you hear me? Okay. This guy told me he would take 20 minutes for his part, and right now it's 20 minutes, so okay. Congratulations. So yeah, I'm going to to show you the solution that we have developed using Manifold as a key component. Okay, before, let me put a bit of context about why we did that. Okay, so first of all, let's try to define Alfresco. Okay, because we know that Alfresco is the ECM open source more important in the world. Okay, but it's not only this. It's document management, records management, workflows, cloud, mobile. So actually, Alfresco is a superhero, okay? Because it needs to do a lot of stuff. It needs to keep all the customers happy, okay? Like a superhero, he needs to face a lot of enemies, okay? And regarding search, which is the topic that we are talking, we have a very common enemies. Okay, like find one exact single document, return large data sets of document, get those documents filtered by permission, and most important, it needs to be fast. It needs to scale. No matter how big the repository is, it needs to scale. Okay, and sometimes with the current Alfresco architecture that Piergiorgio just explained, we have some problems, okay, and we need someone else to help. That's it, that sometimes a superhero is not enough. Coming back to a technical point of view, the Alfresco and Solar approach, the current one, is very good architecture that takes care about performance, user experience, usability. From an architecture point of view, it allows you to deploy Alfresco in different ways, so it's very flexible on it. And it solves all the performance issues that he had when he had to return a large data set. But because we have some projects that had certain requirements that could not be covered with this approach, sometimes we need to use something else. Okay, so for that, we talked to Alfresco and we told them, don't worry, because when this case of a scenario comes, we are here to cover you. Okay? This is our solution that we have done. In the highlights of this one is, well, we are using Manifold. So it's completely decoupled from Alfresco. Actually, you can integrate it with any other repository vendor because of the way that Piergiorgio explained that support lots of repository connectors, we can use lots of them. We can even implement new ones. And it's quite important that we preserve security and permissions within results, because sometimes we have seen some solutions of federated search, but it doesn't take care of permissions. So for production environments, it was really production ready, actually. So a part of using Manifold, we have created an API to manage Manifold services. Okay, an API for searching, decoupling the search engine that we want to use. So in our solution, we offer Solar Cloud. It's Solar 4 version, currently Solar 4.5, Elasticsearch, and Amazon Cloud Search. They are quite good search solution techniques, so solution engines that use very powerful techniques, and they scale very well. We also developed a simple user interface we are going to see. It's quite easy to configure, to change facets. And we have plenty of Manifold customization. Also a note is included in our semantic solution, Sensify. So it's something that we know we work. About what we have done with involving Manifold, because Piergiorgio said that, yeah, you can create your own connectors and so on. We have created a new Alfresco repository connector. You are expecting us for releasing it, and we are going to do it, I promise. Yeah. Yeah, because the current one is like very tied to the current Alfresco Solar version, so we have improved it a little. We have developed an Amazon Cloud Search output connector that we offer in our enterprise version to integrate with this product of Amazon that goes really well. And we have done the Alfresco authority connector. So right now we take care of permissions where we are querying and indexing Alfresco index, Alfresco repository. I'm going to show you several scenarios where we realize that we need to offer something else than what Alfresco offer bundled. Okay. Typical scenario, because your company is quite big and you have, let's say, one office in the States, another one in Europe. Because of performance, you want to have like 2 different Alfresco instances, not synchronized. You have 2 Alfresco completely different. Okay, it's not clustered, it's 2 Alfresco instances different. You probably want to have a way to query with one single search to query both indexes, because sometimes you work with documents of the other office, okay? How do you do that with the current approach? Because with the current Solar version and the current Alfresco implementation, you cannot have a single index, okay? So you need to query the Alfresco server separately, and then you need to merge results. But how do you merge results? They are using different index. When you request for data, the rank algorithm of any index is going to be different. The score is going to be different. So what you are actually doing is shuffling data, and that's not good. That's not coherent, because what document is more important? What's the order, actually, okay? Because of that, with our approach, we have both Alfresco indexing through our solution to our search engine. That, I repeat, it can be Solar Cloud, Elasticsearch, or Amazon Cloud Search so far. Okay, because of we are indexing in one index, all data is storing in a single place. So you can query, and you are sure that the results come in order, make sense. It's what the user is really waiting for. Like, as I say, that origin is relevant, but because we are using our API, you can decide, okay, I want only results of repository 1, only results repository 2, first results repository 1, then repository 2. That's a lot of flexibility. Okay, yeah, as I said, it's important that you can choose your engine, and depending on your needs, your use cases, we can offer you the better search engine that it's going to suit in your company. Another typical scenario is you have Alfresco and you have something else, one SharePoint, because for some legacy reasons you cannot get rid of, or simple file system, a Drupal because you are having a portal, whatever you have. The same, you need to query both indexes, but you have the same problem that I explained before. You have another more, because from Alfresco, you cannot reach the external data unless you code something. You have to do a custom code. Okay? With our solution, it's a similar approach to the one I just explained. It's just you have Alfresco in one side, and the other side, the other repository type. They both index through our solution, so the final index speaks our language. And through our API, you can query it. You can have an external application, a shared dashlet, whatever you need to suit your requirements, you can have it. And you can search in this single index, and you know for sure that the information comes in a right way. Another typical scenario is you have a huge index, order of terabytes, huge index. Solar scales much better than Lucidi, but the version that Alfresco use of Solar is 1.4.2. That's quite old, and it does not leverage the most relevant techniques regarding scaling, like sharding, replication. It's not a smart search engine. So, okay, it works, but A, you have to put a high hardware specification, and B, even though performance is not as better as the latest technologies that we are just talking about. So again, our solution is we directly index on it. So you have the index with a good modern technology. You can have, depending on your use case, you can have different shards, different replicas. You can use some replicas to index, some replicas to query, and that's going to scale much, much, much better. And again, depending on your requirements, we can recommend you to use Elastic, Amazon, or Solar. Other benefits that we can have is, imagine that you want to have information from several places, okay? You can have all, like the same way that Piergiorgio explained about permissions, you can have a third party that you want to integrate with Alfresco document, but for any reason you don't want to integrate it directly in Alfresco. Again, because of we are managing our index, you can have like a pipeline of jobs, and you can have in your search server like a graph of documents, Alfresco properties, other properties, and Alfresco permissions. Everything is in a single index, so you can query these entities, you can query these whatever you need. Okay. Now I'm going to do a live demo. Okay, I am too risky because the servers are outside and the internet connection we know is not quite good, but I will take the risk. I don't have video recorded, so if it fails, you can go and have a coffee. Okay. Before showing the demo, I'm going to explain a bit the architecture of what we have. We have two different Alfresco instances. One contains documents about sport news, mostly. The other one about movies, actors, documents about films, the cinema world, okay? We also have a file system that contains different type of news. Also know that we have the Alfresco movies synchronized with RedLink. RedLink is, this guy, our head of R&D, can explain better than me, but it's a company who aims to offer software as a service for enriching your data and for applying semantic technologies, populating, having linked data, lots of semantic stuff, okay? In the middle, we have our solution, contains Manifold, contains APIs, contains some knowledge, some logic. And we have three different search engines, so three different instances. We have Amazon Cloud Search that contains the information of the two Alfresco, Solar that contains information of the Alfresco sport news and the file system, and Elasticsearch that only contains information about the Alfresco sport news. I did that because I want you to show that you can have, for any reason, different search engines applied for any requirement that you might have. Okay? I want you to introduce you a couple of guys that are going to help me in the demo. Okay, these are the two guys. Probably you know them. The left guy is Gareth Bale. He's a football player, recently hired for Real Madrid. He's the new start. And in the right side, we have Christian Bale. He's an actor, famous among other films because he was Batman in Christopher Nolan's direction movies. Okay. I'm crossing my fingers. Nice job. This is Apache Manifold, the user interface. Okay, in the left column you have the different connectors that you define. We have a list of output connector, a list of repository connector, a list of authority connector. Okay, and we have the job that puts all together. Okay, so we have a job that index information in Elasticsearch coming from Alfresco news, the same but in Solar, Alfresco movies in Amazon, Alfresco news in Amazon, and file system in Solar, pretty much the graphical image that you saw before. Let me show you an output connector, for instance. So basically, for instance, for the Amazon, you just select the name, and couple of parameters. In this case, is the URL endpoint that you are using for storing and querying your index. The same for the repository connector. For instance, this one, you just select the user, the port, typical Alfresco configuration to query or to use Alfresco for, okay? Yeah, that's the list of jobs. We can run it automatically because we can define times where the job is executed, or manually by this console, okay? You can start the job and automatically starts. Okay, and this is our demo. Okay, it's a simple user interface where you have the faces in the left side. That's also configurable. We have put 3 facets that you probably are familiar with: Alfresco types, Alfresco categories, and Alfresco main types. Okay, these are the 2 Alfrescos that we are using. I think this one is Alfresco movies. This one is Alfresco sport, yeah, news. Okay, so in news, if we search for Bale, we are going to have documents that speak about Bale, the football player. If we search in this one about Bale, we are going to have information about documents that speak about Bale, the actor. You may see that this is different. This is faces that we have included in the search Alfresco component. It's part of our semantic product called Sensify. These are entities of the documents that are extracted automatically. Okay, so if you remember, in Amazon, we had a document that speaks about both Bales, okay, also in different languages. If, for instance, we just want documents that speak about Christian Bale, we can say, okay, I want the documents that contain the entity, because entities, we map it as categories. Batman Begins. So we have the film The Dark Knight, okay? In Elasticsearch, we don't have this index, in this Alfresco repository indexed. Okay, so if we search for Bale, we only have documents that talk about Bale. Fernando, this one does not like to you, because he's up for Sevilla. For instance, I want documents that speak about Bale and are in Italian, because this guy is Italian and I owe him one, so it contains the word Bale here. Okay. In Solar, we had the file system and the Alfresco sport news. So again, only documents that speak about sports, football in this case. Okay. If you remember, we well, before, I told you that we take care of permissions as well. Okay, I am doing these queries with admin user. I mean, we use a similar approach to Solar Alfresco, okay? In a production environment, this goes with SSL, okay? But to simplify that, I'm just doing a basic demo. So I'm going to change the user. Right now I'm user admin user. But now I'm going to change to my user. He's not to F Alvarez user. He's not member of the sport news site, so he shouldn't be seeing sport news. Right now, without refreshing the browser, we see 1,155 documents. If we refresh, we only see 518. And if we search for bail, unless I have a new about bailing somewhere else in the repository, exactly, we have nothing. I'm going to change again the user. If you remember, I told you that we had file system indexes as well. It's here, okay. I included a document this morning about Alfresco Summit. If we're searching Elasticsearch, for instance, about Alfresco Summit, we have no results. But in Solar, because we have indexed the file system, we say, hi guys, I hope you're having a great time in Alfresco Summit. It's a pleasure to be talking to you through this solution. A bit creepy though, okay? So yeah, it's because we have indexed the file system in Solar. Okay, what next? I want to show you how fast it is indexing this solution, okay? You probably know that Real Madrid got a draw result in the Champions League yesterday. So I'm going to go to the Alfresco Sport News, document library, news folder, PDF news, 5 minutes, okay. I don't know, here for instance. Okay. Right now, if we search for this document, it's not going to appear, okay? For instance, with Elastic, Juventus, there are 4 documents. None of them are easy. Okay, Pallone d'Oro, okay. But we are going to run the job. This one is Alfresco News Elastic. Start. So now Manifold is detecting the last transaction that he indexed and looking for the new transactions to index, communicating with the output repository, checking permissions with the authority connector. Okay. Apparently, it finished. It's sending the end notification so he can close the transaction. It's done. If we search Juventus, we got it. Okay. If we search here, because I haven't run this job, we don't have it. Okay. Let's come back to the presentation. Okay, it's just some conclusions that we can search and index in most popular cloud search solutions. We offer these 3, but eventually we can integrate something else. We can retrieve information from most popular repositories and data providers. All together, we can mix different repository types. And we also manage permission and security for data, which is quite important for the customer. Because we have been dealing with Manifold too much, as you may guess. Everything is fully supported by us, so we are happy to help, okay? That's the image of what I just explained, okay? We can have any repository indexing in any search engine. Like, you know, software is always evolving. We have like a roadmap planned about it. The first items that we want to achieve is a more powerful user interface, integrating as well the manifold configuration and management, because sometimes end user wants something more beautiful than Apache manifold user interface. No hard feelings. New connectors, of course. For instance, file system authority connector in case that we want to have permissions extracted for a shared folder that has an active directory mapped. Benchmarking with huge volume to demonstrate the benefits of these search engines, and then small integration with share with a dashlet. Okay. In terms of the solution we offer, yeah, we are not Batman, but we can be your superhero and help you with these something else projects. I think now it's time for questions in case you have something to ask.
No one?
How would that solution be provided as a product or as a solution for?
You want the microphone?
How is the packaging and availability of that solution? And next question is the features you described for the next step. When are you planning them to be available?
What would you say, Rafa? No, I mean, you know, because as soon as possible, no longer than 6 months, of course, because we are trying to push this very fast in market and get all the improvement. This is our first version, but there are requirements that we need to cover sooner than later. So, yeah, let's say around a quarter time in ahead from now. Yeah, 3 months, something like that. Yeah.
And the packaging, is it also available for partners, or is it a consulting solution you provide?
Say it again?
Is it a packaging possible for partners getting this, or is it a solution you provide to end customers?
I guess that involves a negotiation that I can explain to you in 1 minute, but if you're happy, we can discuss later on. Okay. Yeah, go on. Do you have a nice voice?
Can you push to manifold instead of pulling?
The push?
Yeah, Alfresco, now your manifold pulls the changes from Alfresco, if I'm correct, but can Alfresco push?
It's a crawler, so
get content.
Get content,
Yeah.
no wait for content.
And push these contents in search server for creating indexes.
Yeah, but
can you push directly from Alfresco to Manifold? Does it have a REST API?
It's like the Solar approach, actually. Solar in
Yes.
Alfresco is always polling, what do you have for me? What do you have for me?
Yes, but I'm asking if it's possible the other way around. To each time when Alfresco gets new document, to push them directly to Manifold so that they are indexed as
It depends
almost
on
real time.
how you configure the schedule on Manifold. So you put new contents in the Alfresco, and the next time the job is run. Okay. Now. Now you can do it.
Yeah.
If you want, you can create a schema to an implementation to have synchronized indexed manifold. So this is not the main role of Manifold, but you can customize it to get a synchronized behavior. But this is not a typical scenario.
But it has an API to do that.
No, you have the REST API of Manifold. So if you want, you can run a job every second.
Yeah, but I don't want to run the job every second. I want to...
Yeah, you want Alfresco to run the job for you.
Okay, you have to implement your customization to make it possible that Alfresco will invoke Manifold. Okay, so you can do that, but you have to implement.
Yes. When you are using such a kind of index search solution, you are duplicating content from all the repositories to the index search.
You are not duplicating content, you are indexing content. That depends on how you have configured the search engine.
So you are retrieving just some kind of metadata, or, I mean, how do you explain that to the customers?
What do I have to explain? Like why the index is duplicated? That depends on
yes, the feeling that you are duplicating content.
But you are not. You are indexing content. That's not actually duplicating unless you store all the metadata. But why? Is the customer is the one that needs to come to me and tell me, I want a tool for publishing. I want that scales fast. I want that filtered by permission, because depending of whether it's an editor user, a publisher user, to see some stuff.
In other words, when I'm searching for a document, the content of that document is being retrieved from the index search, or it's being retrieved from the original repository.
Directly, that's the purpose of search, of having an index. An index helps you to find the location of the document that you want to find. It's like
in a publishing context, you could have the needs to publish also the binary of the content, so the content body. But it depends on the requirements.
I mean, I'm thinking at customers with some terabytes of information in different located in different repositories, and then I'm thinking of offer that kind of solution. Then, well, it means that you have to allocate at least the same amount of information in other place, isn't it?
It's the customer who needs to decide if he wants fast or if he wants to save space. If you want to save space and not having duplicated data, that's not for them. But you know, volume stores are cheaper than losing a customer because his search is taking too long and he goes somewhere else, for instance. We don't?
Understood.
And we can talk after the, okay? So, yeah, just help us with, well, go on.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, and you can help us with this search.